Good morning, I'm Amanda Jackson. This is week 4 video review presentation. For this presentation, I explored scholarly journals from the Jerry Falwell Library, Oxford Scholarship Online, and Project Muse to examine the Carlisle Indian Industrial School and the broader U.S. government assimilation policies aimed at Native American children in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Founded in 1879 by Richard Henry Pratt, Carlisle was the flagship of the federal government's efforts to assimilate Native children and erase indigenous cultures. David Wallace Adams, in his book, Education for Extinction, American Indians and the Boarding School Experience, 1875 to 1928, calls these schools the central institutions in which can best be described as a massive experiment in social engineering. Their goal was to change not just Indian behavior, but Indian consciousness. This effort was tied to larger ideas found in America at this time, like Manifest Destiny and Progressive Era reforms, which framed assimilation as a civilizing mission. But in reality, these schools targeted Native children, their families, and communities, aiming to dismantle indigenous identity and replace it with Euro-American norms. Frederick J. Stephan offers a more personal look at Pratt himself in his article, Richard Pratt and His Indians. He portrays Pratt as a paternalistic reformer whose motto was kill the Indian and save the man, and it captures the violent contradiction of his mission. Pratt saw Native children as blank pages who could be remade into white Americans if they were properly educated. And though he believed he was helping, his approach was deeply rooted in white cultural superiority, and it involved erasing indigenous ways of life. Stephan's research highlights this complex legacy. Pratt's reformist zeal was genuine, but it came at a devastating cost. Adding another important layer, Jacqueline Fear-Segal, in her book White Man's Club, Schools, Race, and the Struggle of Indian Acculturation, show how Carlisle operated as a white space, where every detail, from the architecture to daily routines, reinforced white supremacy and racial control. She explains that the boarding school was not simply a place of education, but a mechanism for racial ordering. The physical layout and the institutional practices communicated hierarchy, discipline, and whiteness. This perspective reveals that assimilation was enforced not just through ideology, but through the very structure of the institution itself. Now, taken together, all three of these scholars provide a layered understanding of the boarding school system. Adams offers a broad political and cultural context of assimilation policy as a form of cultural genocide. Stephan personalizes it by focusing on Pratt's contradictory role and ideology. And Fear-Segal reveals the institutional mechanisms of racial control embedded in the school's designs. Their combined work shows that assimilation was a deliberate, multifaceted system aimed at destroying Native identity and culture. In closing, the Carlisle Indian Industrial School and Richard Henry Pratt's assimilationist mission represent a troubling chapter of U.S. history, one marked by paternalism, racial supremacy, and cultural violence. Understanding these layers is crucial to honoring Native resilience and critically examining the lasting impact of federal Indian education policies. Thank you for watching.